regulations for the issuance of certificates and permits to teach, provide special services, and administer in Nebraska schools, and Title 92 Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 24, or Rule 24, regulations for certificate endorsements. The legal notice of hearing was published for this hearing in the Omaha World Herald on November 2nd, 2024. The hearing for each rule will be held separately in numerical order. To begin the hearing on each rule, a Nebraska Department of Education staff member will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony by interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to state and spell your first and last name and provide a general indication of where you live, the city, county, or school district. Exact addresses are not necessary and are, in fact, not encouraged. Then state a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the board to take, and state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. You may reinforce, but please refrain from repeating previous testimony. Each person testifying will be limited to 5 minutes, and I will have a timer. If additional time is needed, it may be provided at the discretion of the presiding officer. And at the conclusion of all testimony from interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony presented today, which will conclude the testimony. The testimony presented will be recorded, and the audio recording will be made available to the State Board of Education and the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of this rule later this week. All written testimony must be submitted to the hearing official prior to 5 p.m. today in order to be made part of the record of this hearing. The email for submitting written comments is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. Again, that is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. This email address may also be found on the department's website at www.education.ne.gov. By following the rules and regulations link on the right side of the page to the public notices of upcoming rule hearings. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 21, regulations for the issuance of certificates and permits to teach, provide special services, and administer in Nebraska schools, with Brad Dirksen from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Brad, you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Brad Dirksen, BradDirksen. I work for the Nebraska Department of Education as an administrator for the Office of Accreditation, Certification, and Approval. The State Board of Education approved revisions to Title 92 Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 21, regulations for the issuance of certificates and permits to provide special services and administer in Nebraska schools, Rule 21, in June of 2023, which became effective in February 2024. In June of 2023, the Rules and Regulations Committee of the State Board of Education signaled the need for additional revisions to certification regulations. The Nebraska Department of Education staff received input from certification applicants, educator preparation program professionals, teachers, administrators, and other interested parties to identify policy issues and explore solutions since July of 2023. The Rules and Regulations Committee has had ongoing conversations regarding policy issues and solutions regarding certification and endorsement regulations since September of 2023. The department has utilized the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education, NCTE, as an advisory group to aid in the identification of policy issues, propose solutions, and provide feedback to potential revisions. NCTE is an advisory group that includes equal representation of teachers, educator preparation programs, and governance groups of total of 48 members, 16 members per group. NCTE has met 4 times since October of 2023 and has provided substantial feedback to the revision process. Additionally, department staff engaged in the Metropolitan Omaha Education Consortium, MOEC, Human Resources Task Force in 2024 in the process of identifying policy issues, discussing potential solutions, and providing feedback regarding potential revisions. Based on stakeholder discussions and direction from the Rules and Regulations Committee, the department staff created a public draft of Rule 21 The public input draft was posted on the department website on August 16th, 2024, which allowed for the public input through September 13th, 2024. The feedback from public input draft including NCTE was discussed at the October 2024 state board meeting. Revisions to Rule 21 were made based on the public input received as directed by the State Board Rules and Regulations Committee. The revisions made to the public input draft include: 1, adding a definition for equivalent professional development, and 2, created one set of renewal requirements for regular teaching certificates and one set of renewal requirements for administrative certificates, regardless of the amount of time the certificate has expired. The revisions aim to: 1, remove certification barriers; 2, ensure alternative pathways; 3, retain quality; 4, simplify the system; and 5, align regulations with current statutory changes. A summary of changes from the current Rule 21 contained in the draft rule revision include: 1, add definitions to operationalize Nebraska Revised Statute 1505, Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact. 2, add a definition for equivalent professional development. 3, elimination of transcripts from a Nebraska Standard Institution of Higher Education when a certification officer provides a recommendation to the department for the purpose of certification. 4, provide for equivalent professional development to be considered towards renewal requirements of administrative certificates, while also simplifying the renewal requirements, making no distinction between the length of time a certificate has expired. 5, provide for equivalent professional development to be considered towards renewal requirements of regular teaching certificates, while also simplifying the renewal requirements, making no distinction between the length of time of a certificate has expired. 6, simplify the alternative program teaching permit from 7 pathways to 1 inclusive pathway. 7, operationalize the alternative teaching certificate as identified in Nebraska Revised Statute 79.8, 8, align the credit hour requirements for a local substitute permit holder to an equivalent level required for a temporary certificate as outlined in Nebraska Revised Statute 79-8, 9, create a paraprofessional substitute teaching permit, allowing paraprofessionals who hold this permit the ability to substitute teach with a limited scope of practice. 10, eliminate the Nebraska entry teaching permit, as the primary type does not provide any additional flexibility given the combination of revisions made to this chapter. 11, revisions to align the temporary certificates to Nebraska Revised Statute 79-808 and 79-8, 145. And 12, revisions to align military permits with Nebraska Revised Statute 79-813. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Brad. Is there any testimony from the public? If so, please raise your hand. Mr. Pace, please proceed. Let me see if I'm doing the Zoom correct here. I think you should just be able to unmute and begin talking.
Good morning. Thank you, Troy. My name is Nick Pace, Nickpace. I serve as interim dean of the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm here today to provide testimony related to proposed changes in Rule 21, regulating certification and licensure. As Nebraska's only land-grant university, UNL is a research institution and home to the College of Education and Human Sciences, a comprehensive state and nationally accredited educator preparation program. UNL is dedicated to preparing high-quality teachers, educational leaders, speech-language pathologists, and school psychologists to meet its land-grant mission and unique statewide opportunity to serve the needs of Nebraska and its citizens. Our commitment to high-quality teacher education and educator preparation and being responsive to community needs is the basis for the following response to the proposed Rule 21 changes. UNL supports the proposed change to eliminate requiring official transcripts from Nebraska-approved institutions. This change removes both an administrative and financial barrier for teacher candidates, as well as the redundancy with certification officer recommendations. UNL is opposed to the proposed change to the administrative certificates and permits section that eliminates the statement listing the requirements of 2 years of teaching. We strongly recommend reinstating section 004.01H to ensure clarity and transparency of the requirements and allow users of rule like certification officers and candidates to easily determine requirements versus a cumbersome multi-step process that revision requires, and remove the chance for an inadvertent elimination of the requirement through future changes to the Nebraska Standard or Professional Teaching Certificate. UNL also believes prepared teachers have greater success in the classroom and better student achievement results, and so we're strongly opposed to the reduction of alternative program teaching permit types into a single permit. The proposal eliminates any demonstration of competency or preparation in content or pedagogy prior to receiving the permit. This does not align to the current administrator alternative permit, which has 2 pathways, nor do we feel it supports the State Board of Education's goal of teaching, learning, serving, which specifies that students will have qualified credentialed teachers. We support and recommend reducing the alternative permit options to 3 pathways to ensure an expedited timeline to the classroom to assist schools with staffing in combination with some type of preparation or proficiency for teacher success. Additional details are included in the submit and written testimony, but pathway 1 could require completion of an alternative certification program in another state or passing the Praxis content exam. Pathway 2 could include a bachelor's degree and completion of 50% of a program. Both pathways should also require completion of a pre-teaching seminar like NDE's current Jumpstart workshop and submission of a mentoring plan from the district to increase teacher success and retention, like what is currently required in Pathway 5. Pathway 3 is for certificate renewals. Reducing 3 permit pathways versus 1 eliminates the confusion of having 7 options, but retains clarity of requirements and maintains the focus on the unique expertise required for this licensed profession. These revisions reflect efforts to eliminate redundancy. However, UNL is opposed to the current verbiage in section 006.002 B, C, and D, and would strongly recommend specific requirements be restored and clearly stated. By referencing only state statute 79-8,145, the user, including certification officers who frequently reference rule, must use a multi-step process to research and interpret the Nebraska statute, increasing the potential for confusion or error. Clearly listing requirements in this section provides transparency for users so rule can be consistently followed. UNL firmly believes that high-quality prepared teachers have specialized skills, knowledge, qualifying for teacher licensure, and are committed to upholding inclusion of preparation and rigor in all permit and certification types. We appreciate the State Board of Education's work to provide high-quality preparation, resulting in the best teachers for Nebraska students, as well as the opportunity to be part of the process.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. You must have practiced that to be right on time.
A bit.
And I think that was my system playing music to indicate the timer had run out.
Thank you. I was looking to make sure it wasn't my computer, Troy.
Okay, at this time, I would ask if there are any other comments from the public. If so, please raise your hand using the app on Zoom. I do not see any other hands. So at this time, I will close the public comments. And I would ask Brad, is there anything you would like to add at this time? I'm sorry. Is that Ms. Sankey?
Yes, I just want to clarify, you're closing Rule 21 public comments only?
Rule 21,
Thank you
correct.
for clarifying.
Okay, last opportunity for anybody on Rule 21. Okay, Mr. Dirksen, is there anything you would like to add at this time?
Yes. There have been concerns raised in verbal and written comment regarding the alternative program teaching permit. This topic has been discussed extensively with stakeholders, including with the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education. The quality of teachers in classrooms is always a major consideration when drafting regulations. The reduction to one pathway for the alternative program teaching permit was designed to simplify the current 7-pathway structure. This simple one pathway option will allow school system administrators to better evaluate potential teaching candidates' ability to obtain a permit. The permits in general allow someone who does not meet all of the requirements of a regular teaching certificate an ability to start teaching. This permit specifically requires that they work toward certification. If they do not work toward certification, it's not renewable. The condensing of 7 pathways into one pathway is not the solution to the educator shortage in Nebraska. It's one potential tool that can be utilized by administrators when making hiring decisions. As with any teacher hired on a permit, the administrator must understand the ability and limitations of the person that they are hiring and put in place proper supports. Those supports may include mentorship, an onboarding program, college coursework prior to starting the school year, professional development, or other supports put in place to aid the teacher and ultimately the students. Those hired on an alternative teaching permit may have varied backgrounds, and the supports will need to be individualized. Blanket requirements and regulations often have unintended consequences resulting in barriers. Currently, some school systems are utilizing local substitute teaching permit holders to teach courses because they cannot find or hire a teacher who holds a regular teaching certificate. A local substitute teaching permit does not require a holder to have a bachelor's degree or work toward a regular teaching certificate. This revision provides a pathway to hire a teacher who holds a bachelor's degree as determined by the hiring school system to be the best fit for students given the circumstances while ensuring they're working towards a teaching certificate. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Brad. This closes the hearing on the proposed revision to Rule 21. We will now begin the hearing on Rule 24, Regulations for Certificate Endorsements, with again Brad Dirksen from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Brad, you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Brad Dirksen, BradDirksen. I work for the Nebraska Department of Education as an administrator for the Office of Accreditation, Certification, and Approval. The State Board of Education approved revisions to Title 92 Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 24, Regulations for Certificate Endorsements, Rule 24 in June of 2023, which became effective in June of 2024. In June of 2023, the Rules and Regulations Committee of the State Board of Education signaled the need for additional revisions to certificate endorsement regulations. The Nebraska Department of Education staff received input from certification applicants, educator preparation program professionals, teachers, administrators, and other interested parties to identify policy issues and explore solutions since July of 2023. The Rules and Regulations Committee has had ongoing conversations regarding policy issues and solutions regarding certification and endorsement regulations since September of 2023. The department has utilized the Nebraska Council on Teacher Education, NCTE, as an advisory group to aid in the identification of policy issues propose solutions, and provide feedback to potential revisions. NCTE is an advisory group that includes equal representation of teachers, educator preparation programs, and governance groups, total of 48 members, 16 per group. NCTE has met 4 times since 2023 of October and has provided substantial feedback to the revision process. Additionally, department staff have engaged the Metropolitan Omaha Education Consortium MOAC Human Resources Task Force in 2024 in the process of identifying policy issues, discussing potential solutions, and providing feedback regarding potential revisions. Based on stakeholder discussions and the direction from the Rules and Regulations Committee, the department staff created a public input draft of Rule 24. The public input draft was posted on the department website on August 16th, 2024, which allowed for public input through September 13th, 2024. The feedback from the public input draft, including NCTE, was discussed at the October 2024 State Board meeting. The revisions to Rule 24 were made based on the public input received as directed by the State Board Rules and Regulations Committee. Revisions made to the public input draft include: 1, add definitions for equivalent professional education and equivalent professional education provider. 2, enable Nebraska-approved educator preparation programs to reduce total required credit hours for any teaching endorsement by up to 50% based on competency. 3, eliminate the requirements for additional student teaching for educators, adding an endorsement. The revisions aim to: 1, remove certification barriers; 2, ensure alternative pathways; 3, retain quality; 4, simplify the system; and 5, align regulations with recent statutory changes. A summary of changes from the current Rule 24 contained in the draft rule revisions include: eliminate the identification of a singular company to be utilized for content examination; 2, eliminate the requirement of a content test to qualify for an endorsement; 3, provide for additional pathways to earn additional endorsements as outlined in Nebraska Revised Statute 79-810. 4, eliminate requirement for additional student teaching requirements for applicants adding an endorsement. 5, provide educator preparation programs the ability to reduce the total required credit hours for any teaching endorsement by up to 50% based on demonstrated competency in the endorsement area. 6, eliminate redundancy of the 2 years of teaching experience requirements for administrative endorsements, as 92 NAC 21 Rule 21 requires 2 years of teaching experience to qualify for an administrative certificate. 7, eliminate adaptive physical education endorsement. 8, add computer science endorsement. 9, eliminate secondary transition specialist endorsement. 10, revise semester hour requirements to reflect endorsement hours needed in special education content. 11, adjust regulations allowing for undergraduate semester hours to accept towards a special education early childhood endorsement. 12, adjust semester hour requirements for the special education early intervention specialist endorsement. 13, eliminate special education functional academic skills and independent living specialist endorsement. 14, eliminate special education inclusion and collaboration specialist endorsement. 15, eliminate vocational special needs endorsement. And 16, add designated endorsement section to comply with Nebraska Revised Statute 79-810. The department is considering the non-substantive changes to the public hearing draft that would result in not eliminating the following endorsements: adaptive physical education, secondary transition specialist, special education functional academic skills and independent living specialist, special education inclusion and collaboration specialist, and vocational special needs. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Brad. This time I would invite the public to make any comments they wish. Again, there will be a 5-minute limit on public comments per person. And if you would like to make any comments, please raise your hand. Ms. Sankey. Thank you, and you may proceed.
My name is Lorinda Sankey, Lorinda. Sankey, Sankey. I live in Seward, Nebraska. I serve as the Dean for Education, Health, and Human Sciences at Concordia University. I serve as the president of the Nebraska Association of Colleges for Teacher Education, NACTE. NACTE membership is made up of faculty, staff, and certification officers from each of the 16 Nebraska colleges and universities that offer programs to prepare educators. All of these programs have been approved by the State Board of Education. I present oral testimony on behalf of NACTE today. Dear Nebraska Board of Education members, thank you for your service to the students, families, schools, and citizens of Nebraska. We value the work that you do to ensure that every educator preparation program in Nebraska is of high quality and continues to prepare excellent educators. NACTE members are users of the rules that are approved by the Board of Education. We use Rule 20, Rule 21, and Rule 24. NACTE members work in various roles within each institution to ensure that these three rules are met. We answer questions about these rules from citizens across Nebraska who are seeking certification or renewal of certification. We explain the rules to our candidates who are admitted or are hoping to be admitted to our approved educator programs. We know and apply these rules to our work every day. Because of our knowledge and application of Rule 24, NACTE members have several recommendations regarding the proposed revisions of this rule. First of all, NACTE supports several of the revisions to Rule 24, and we have testimony here about changes that we would like to see. NACTE position, Rule 24 should include all requirements for each endorsement. If one or more requirements for an endorsement are found only outside of Rule 24, those requirements may not be located or accurately referred to when working with those who seek certification or recertification. Including all requirements for every endorsement in Rule 24 ensures that every requirement will be located and accurately referenced. The recommendation is to restore the requirement for 2 years of teaching experience for administrative certificates of principal, special education supervisor, and superintendent in Rule 24. This requirement could immediately follow 005 administrative certificate and state applicants for administrative endorsements must have 2 years of teaching experience in an approved accredited elementary, middle, and/or secondary school. Rationale, this requirement has been removed from the proposed revision of Rule 24 because it is embedded in Rule 21, 005, 06C1. Based on our experiences as users of Rule 21 and 24, NACTE members are concerned that removing the 2-year teaching experience requirement from Rule 24 will cause it to be overlooked, missed, or a point of confusion. For example, candidates for these administrative endorsements will find endorsement requirements in Rule 24, but the requirement for 2 years is not listed there. It's very helpful to keep all the requirements for administrative certificates in Rule 24 to avoid confusion and ensure that the requirement can be located. Second, NACTE's position is that NCTE, the Nebraska Council for Teacher Education, typically uses an ad hoc committee process when making recommendations for rule revisions. The NCTE ad hoc process provides adequate time, study, and PK20 stakeholder input to study and seek feedback regarding the special education endorsement revision. So our recommendation here is to restore the original number of credit hours required for special education generalist endorsement in the proposed subsection 006.56D1 and 006.56D2 until sufficient time, study, and stakeholder feedback can be provided through the NCTE ad hoc process. Rationale, educators who hold the special education generalist are qualified to teach students with a broad range of learning needs. The reduction of course requirements for this endorsement does not allow adequate preparation for the broad range of students who will be served by educators who will hold this endorsement. Even though this recommendation was made by the Nebraska Council for Teacher Education, NCTE, which NACTE members are a part of, the process for bringing this to the NCTE did not include an ad hoc committee. Again, ad hoc committees are used by NCTE to provide informed decision-making to ensure the reduction of hours is the best number of credit hours as advised by the PK20 experts and practitioners. Removing the ad hoc process for this provision did not provide adequate time to study and seek feedback regarding the implications of reducing credit hours.
Ms. Sankey, I'll give you just a few more seconds to wrap up if you'd like.
I have one more recommendation that I will include in written testimony.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments during the public comment period? If so, please raise your hand. Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Troy. My name is Nick Pace, Nickpace, and I serve as interim dean of the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Here today to provide testimony related to the proposed changes in Rule 24 regulating certificate endorsements. We're committed to collaboration with school districts in providing high-quality teacher education, educator training through the state-established professional educator provider designation, which allows them to provide equivalent professional education. UNL supports these additions if an application process is required for districts requesting approval of an equivalent professional education program. Application criteria and processes ensure high-quality preparation programs meet rule requirements for preparation and licensure, and should also include assessment and reporting systems to demonstrate effectiveness and inform future practice. An application program establishes transparency among all school districts, colleges, and universities offering educator preparation. UNL is opposed to the proposed revision to add endorsements simply through passing an exam, and officially expressed this stance at the NCTE meeting. We have the same concern related to adding endorsements through an equivalent professional education program that does not have required coursework, assessment, and reporting components. Effective teaching requires both content knowledge and expertise in teaching methods to communicate knowledge to students. Research-based teaching methods for effective instruction is not addressed simply by passing a content exam, nor in equivalent professional exam preparation unless formally required. Merely passing a content exam to add an endorsement will result in teachers who are less prepared for success. Adding endorsements through content testing alone does not take into consideration the safety aspect of career and technical education endorsements, many of which can be among the most dangerous areas of the school due to the intensive laboratory environments, such as welding and electricity and wood labs, school farms, land labs, and kitchen and textile labs. CTE teachers are responsible for supervising and managing work-based learning experiences in industries outside of the classroom. This requires extensive knowledge of child labor laws, including the nuances of the specific CTE area placements currently covered in required coursework. We recommend removing CTE endorsements requiring lab settings, agricultural education, skilled technical sciences, skilled and technical science specific, and family and consumer science occupational, from those that can be earned through an exam and or implementing similar oversight and requirements in any district provided equivalent professional education to keep students safe. We appreciate the flexibility in the added endorsement program required section and strongly support the required endorsement plan of how credit is earned within approved criteria to ensure quality and rigor across all education prep programs. UNL opposes the elimination of language in the administrative endorsement section specifying 2 years of teaching to qualify for an administrative certificate. The proposed relocation is cumbersome and confusing for readers, neutralizing desired efficiencies that could result in the inadvertent removal of the requirement in future rule revisions to the other section. We strongly urge reinstating the specific statement requiring 2 years of teaching for this certificate to the section, locating it in one place directly under the administrative endorsement heading. This eliminates redundancy while clearly listing requirements for the administrative endorsements in the specific section, ensuring clarity and simplicity. Because of the specialized knowledge and skills required to be an effective special education teacher, UNL opposes the proposed reduction in credit hours for the special ed generalist endorsement. Specialized knowledge and skills in individualization, specialized instructional strategies, documentation and compliance, and legal requirements are critical to serving students with disabilities. UNL does not believe lesson preparation is appropriate. We do not believe the reduction in credit hours will significantly increase the number of qualified special education teachers without an ad hoc committee review of the proposed changes.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. There's that music again. If you need just a few more seconds to close up, I will allow that.
Thank you. Written testimony is also being submitted. And again, we're grateful for the state board's dedication to high quality education in the state of Nebraska and appreciate the chance to be involved in the process.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments regarding Rule 24? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing none, Brad, are there any other questions that you would like to answer or other comments you'd like to make at this time?
Yes, I would just like to point out the ability to add an endorsement by solely passage of an examination, or the ability to add an endorsement through equivalent professional education are pathways that are allowed per state statute 79-810 subsection 3. So I would just refer to those components that's in state law. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Brad. This concludes and closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 24 and closes the hearings for today. I would like to thank everybody for their interest and time in attending these meetings and wish everybody a good day. And on that note, that concludes the hearings for today. Thank you.